Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd. If you are just tuning in, we just went over our Week 7 rookie report. We had a lot of not great performances from rookie this week, but Drake May had the best performance. Don't look down. Maybe he has a chance at Rookie of the Year if he keeps playing like this. Maybe not, though. He's got an outside shot there. Anyway, in this segment, we turn our attention to the NBA. For the rest of the show, it is an NBA show. Tip-off was last night. We had two games that took place. The title defense began with the Boston Celtics, and of course, LeBron and Bronny made history last night. We also have power rankings. We're going to start off with those. But before we get into that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you are on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, October 23rd. But like I was saying, we are going to get into our preseason power rankings. I know games started yesterday. We did a whole predictions yesterday, so we didn't have time to do power rankings. We'll do these every Wednesday. So we're gonna start off with our power rankings. Andre asks, Anthony Edwards might have to average 30 for the team to win. I think that's completely fair to say if they're going to play like that every single time. I think Julius Randle will get better as he gets, more comfortable with the system. And I don't think Anthony Edwards played his most team-friendly game. I don't like his shot selection, but we'll go into more detail in our next segment once we finish up these power rankings for the Lakers and Timberwolves game. But starting off at number 30 for our preseason NBA power rankings are the Washington Wizards. They are a team that is just atrocious. Top to bottom, that team doesn't have really anything that you can look at and be positive on. This is going to be a year where you say, hey, if they're young guys, their draft picks like an Alex Sarr can show something. If, Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole can show a little bit of improvement, maybe they can be better next year, but they're not competing even for a play-in my opinion. At 29, the Pistons. That you can say basically everything you said about the Wizards and put them with the Pistons. They got a lot more stars, I think, on that team than the Wizards do. A lot more guys that you can more easily project to being great players in the league. Guys like Cade Cunningham over there. I think they made a lot of good moves in the offseason, but I need to see it pan out before I believe in them to do anything at all. Maybe if everything goes right, maybe they can compete for a 10 seed in the East. But I think the 10 seed in the East is going to be a team that wins like 25 games. So that's not really saying much either way. At 28, we have the Nets. The Nets are a team that's just blatantly tanking right there. They're trying to see if Ben Simmons has anything left in him. They got a haul from the Knicks for Mikal Bridges, which so much. And again, we'll get to that later when we get into our next segment. But the Nets are a tanking team. They're going to be at the bottom this year. Really, teams 24 and down, you can pretty clearly expect to be at the bottom. And the Nets are right there with the Wizards and the Pistons. At 27, it's the Trailblazers. They're, in my opinion, the worst team in the West. They have a lot of young guys that, again, maybe could take a step forward, but they're in the same boat as the Wizards, except I don't think they have any play-in upside at all because that Western Conference is so much deeper. This is going to be a race for Cooper Flagg and that number 1 overall pick. 26 is the Jazz. The Jazz continue to, just be fine. I think they might be able to surprise some people. I like some of the guys on their roster. Lauri Markkanen obviously just signed that big contract to stay with the Jazz, so at least they have a couple of guys that are recognizable and a little marketable, but still they're not going to be good this year. Maybe when they get another big draft pick, maybe then they can move forward a little bit in the rankings. 25 is the Hornets. I'm going to move past a lot of these a little quickly. The Hornets rely on injury. Injury luck is going to be the key to their season. Both of their guys, LaMelo Ball especially, are very injury prone. If they can stay healthy, this is a Hornets team that I could see getting to that 6-7 seed possibly. But still, this is not a Hornets team that I think has the ability to stay healthy or is deep enough to survive any injury to any of their main guys. At 24, it's the Bulls. I hated their offseason. Their offseason was awful. Maybe now they can truly tank after, selling everything they had that was valuable. I still think they're going to be slightly better than the worst teams, but I don't believe in this team at all. And it's the same situation for our number 23 team in the Clippers, especially with Kawhi Leonard out indefinitely. I'm going off the assumption he's not going to play at all this season. They don't even have their first-round pick this year, though, if they do bad enough, as a pick swap could happen with the Thunder later on. Again, unprotected right there. That is going to hurt. That is going to hurt them a lot in the future. The Clippers down here at 23. At 22, it's the Hawks, and they got really lucky in the offseason. They ended up with the number 1 overall pick to go besides Trae Young. I thought they made the wrong decision, but maybe they can go out there and prove me wrong. This is a Hawks team that's going to be able to compete for a play-in title, for a play-in spot. But still, I don't think they're going to do anything special this season. Maybe they get a 9-10 seed in the East. At 21, it's the Warriors. And you can yell at me a little bit on this one, but the Warriors are a team that, yes, they have Steph Curry. And as long as Steph Curry is out there, they've got a chance to be a solid team. But outside of Curry, what is there on that team for you to believe in? They got rid of Klay Thompson, which he wasn't really his best anyway last season, but still, they weren't able to make it past the play-in last season. They barely made the play-in, and I think teams in the West got better while they kind of sat on their hands and got maybe even worse. Warriors are here at 21. At 20, it's the Raptors. I liked their offseason a little bit. They went and they locked up a lot of their young guys a couple days ago. Jalen Green. They went out and, also extended Sengun. These are guys that, if they're going to live up to their contracts, are going to be huge for this team and its future. They still have a long ways to go, but I think this is a team that, again, can in a deep West compete for one of those last 2 play-in spots. Excuse me. At 19, it is the Spurs. The Spurs here still have Wembanyama. Love me Wembanyama. And they add a lot of young talent and Chris Paul. That is going to be a huge jump. I think Wemby is a guy that on his own is going to take a jump here. He's a dark horse MVP for me. We talked a little bit about that. The Spurs are a team I look to take a big step forward. And 16, we skipped right ahead there. 18 is the Raptors. I think they're a little bit of a team that, again, in the East could compete for one of those play-in spots. Not something that I'm super high on this team or anything, but they've got guys like Scotty Barnes, some guys that could make some noise as the season continues. 17 is the Kings. I like De'Aaron Fox. I do. I'm a big De'Aaron Fox fan. They bring in DeMar DeRozan. It should help them in the regular season, but again, in a deep West, I'm not sure if they're even going to make the play-in because of how deep that West is. 16 is the Pelicans. You have Zion if he's able to stay healthy. Again, health is a big factor in the NBA with all of these guys. The Pelicans are a team that I want to believe in, but I think they got much worse in the offseason. They don't really have a big that I feel comfortable with, and I don't think Zion can play center for 82 games this year. So the Pelicans are down at 16. Lakers in the preseason, we're at 15. I'm going to have to move them up next week if they keep playing like they did yesterday, because I thought they looked really good. Anthony Davis playing like an MVP caliber player right now, and LeBron James is just doing LeBron James things. He didn't do too much, but what he did, he was very effective at. The three-point shooting, I think JJ Redick is doing a really good job with the Lakers right now. 14 is the Heat. They're down here because I don't trust them in the regular season. I think they'll make the play-in spot, and I think they might make some noise in the playoffs again, but this team just doesn't try in the regular season for some reason, and this is not the season for them to do that. In the East, I think they might get danger a little too close out of the playoffs for comfort. 13 goes to the Orlando Magic. I really like their moves. I like their defense. They add three-point shooting. This is a team that I think can make a lot of noise. They're a team that I think could be that surprise improved team this year if there's going to be one out of the East. The Pacers sit here at 12. They made the Eastern Conference Finals last year. There's no reason to doubt them. They didn't get any worse. I think Tyrese Halliburton spending time with the Olympic team is really going to help him, actually, even though he didn't really get on the court. Should be a lot of fun for the Pacers this year if their defense can play a little better. The Cavs are here at 11 as we head into the top 10. Andre said Suggs and Paolo, the Magic future is bright. I absolutely agree with that. I love this Magic squad this year. They're the team that I have circled to make the biggest jump in the East. I really do love what the Magic did this offseason. But the Cavs are here at 10. They got a new head coach. I don't think that's going to make too much of a difference. Other than that, this team is basically the same. They're going to make it as like a 5-6 seed most likely, and then they're going to burn out in like the second round of the playoffs probably. The Western Conference champions Mavs are at 10, and maybe I'm a little harsh on them, but Klay Thompson addition was their big move of the offseason. I don't think Derek Lively can continue to play at the pace he was at for the playoffs. That was a ridiculous pace. I think this is a good team, and with Luka and Kyrie and Klay there, they should be a threat in the West, but I think the other teams in the West got better than the Mavs did this offseason. The Suns continue at 9. They're a top 10 squad. They're going to be really good in the regular season. There's no reason to doubt that big three that they have, but I am a little bit worried, again, with their depth. I thought they got a little better than last season as far as depth goes, but still, it's not a team that I can look at, rely on to be consistent if anything happens injury-wise. At 8, it's the Grizzlies. That's the other team I think is going to make a big jump. This one in the West, they get Ja Morant back. I'm very high on the Grizzlies right now. This is not the same Grizzlies team that was a top 2 seed 2 years ago, but still, I think there's a lot of those key components are still there, and I think they can make a big run if Ja can stay on the court. The T-Wolves at 7, again, they're probably going to drop after what I saw, but I think that Julius Randle trade for the T-Wolves, it doesn't hurt them that bad. They get a good three-point shooter as well in Dante DiVincenzo, but they need to work on getting those guys better. Julius Randle had an awful game yesterday. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. The 76ers at the 6th spot. Adding Paul George makes them a real big three again. The question is health, though. They're getting investigated already for not playing their players. That's only going to continue. I don't think they're going to be the best team in the regular season, but if they can make it to the postseason healthy, they can make a lot of noise, because then you'll get full Joel Embiid going. 5, it's the Bucks. I really love that duo of Giannis and Dame. I think they'll be better than last season, but they're still not good enough on the back end, defensively especially, to compete with some of these top 4 teams, which I think far and away are the top teams in the NBA. 4 is the Nuggets. Exclusively, I won't say exclusively, but they would still be up here if they only had Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic plus Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray, that team is still really good. They lost KCP. They're flirting with the second apron, but still, this is a Nuggets team that you cannot sleep on as long as they have the best player in the world on their roster. At 3, I have the Knicks. We saw them kind of struggle a little bit, but that defense should get better. They're going to get better at playing with each other as the season goes on. There was a lot of big changes there. I think the Knicks are a team that could compete with the Celtics in the East. At 2, it's the Thunder. The Thunder are my pick to win the NBA title this year, but the Celtics, as we saw in the first game, are just a different animal, a different beast. The Thunder, I think, were maybe the most improved team, and they might get a top pick this year as well as win the title, which would be insane. But I cannot wait to see the jump that Shea makes, still young. It's gonna be crazy over in OKC. Andre says the Bucks still stuck with Doc Rivers and a Giannis injury away from being cooked. Absolutely right. Again, that's the issue. This Bucks team is so talented. You have one of the top 3 players in the world in Giannis there, and Dame, even though he's taken a bit of a step back, is, awesome. especially offensively, right? Chris Middleton being injured already is not a good start, and I don't like Doc Rivers, but this is a Bucks team that, especially in the regular season, I think can make a lot of noise. And that, of course, leaves the number one team, the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics, as they showed last night, are just a juggernaut, top to bottom. No matter what you say, this team is great. They weren't even fully healthy. They almost set a record for threes made before they so kindly missed all of the threes down the stretch there. Jason Tatum coming out angry after what happened this summer. I don't want to see a motivated Celtics team. We just saw it last night, though, and that is a scary team going for banner number 19. But let me know what you think. We're going to do this probably every Wednesday, and then we'll get graphics for it as well. Kind of rushed there at the last second. I apologize. But we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we turn our attention to the two NBA games that happened last night. The Celtics demolished the Knicks, and the Lakers got a big win in the coaching debut of JJ Redick, and history with LeBron and Bronny on the court at the same time. We'll talk about all of that and more coming up next here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.